You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 20th, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Election Board Public Workshop. You can find more information on this workshop by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everybody. I am Heather Stevens, LaPorte County Clerk. Today is July 20th. This is the public meeting about vote centers for Michigan City. And though I was required to do two of them 30 days apart. So we did one at the end of June. I have one scheduled for the August 3rd in LaPorte at the county complex at 6 p.m. But I definitely wanted to get up to Michigan City so that you guys didn't have to drive as far. So with that being said, this is about our LaPorte County Vote Center plan, which was approved last night. Unanimous by the commissioners, which I thought was really something. But I am here tonight to see if you guys have any questions, any concerns, any comments, anything at all, positive, negative, whatever. This is your time, and I'm here to listen to you. So I think Drew would like, if you do want to speak, I think that this microphone right here.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Schaaf. Thank you very much for inviting us here tonight and for having this public meeting here in Michigan City. I am a resident of LaPorte County, and I'm also the president of the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County. And on behalf of the League, I want to thank you and the other election board members for voting to implement a vote center plan here in LaPorte County. I think also I want to thank you for including a representative from the League of Women Voters on the exploratory committee, along with representatives from several other community organizations that I'm aware of. And I think that the maps that you came up with and the locations you came up with is a good, not only Michigan City, but it looks like throughout the county, it's a fair and good choice of voting locations. And thank you for the consideration and work you put into doing that. I know that since it's a municipal election year, the voter turnout is going to be lower than it will be following year, for instance. And I think that's good because it means that any voters have a chance to learn about vote centers with not as many people around this time. So if they are going to come out and vote, this is a good time to do it. They'll learn about vote centers in addition to voting for the officials that actually make a difference in their daily lives, which is what the municipal elections are about. The League of Women Voters strongly urges the election board, though, to be sure to send out postcards to all of the voters before the election this year and next year, too, because everyone is going to need to have it explained to them. We don't have that good a turnout tonight, and people are not going to be aware of it, even if they are right now. So we ask that you do be sure to send out those postcards. I think you had suggested that already. And we also think that it's very important, too, that you put notices on the former polling places on election day, on the doors, telling people where they can go to vote now. So, but other than that, we just want to say thank you for all of the work you put into this and for coming up with a fair map, and thank you for the work and your consideration in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so that you're aware, those postcards, it's not just an idea, it is actually a requirement. So yeah, and as far as putting anything out at the former locations, we're certainly going to do that. We're not here to confuse anybody.
Okay. Will the postcards go out this year and next year?
So Bonnie just asked me if the postcards will go out this year and next year. That is my plan. I may have to go to the county council. I may have to help voter registration to get that done just because of budget purposes.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Joanne Enquist, and I first of all want to thank you that we are finally getting vote centers. I mean, it has been years that I've wanted this to happen, and I'm not the only one, I'm sure. So I'm absolutely delighted about that. I do have a couple questions. I understand that we could not have a vote center before because we didn't have the proper equipment. But is the equipment that expensive? And if so, where do we get the money this year?
The equipment can be very expensive. When I took office in 2021, that was the first thing that I started to look at was how do we get a hold of those electronic poll books? I had been involved, I worked in voter registration. I've wanted this for so long. And I was paying attention to the county council when they would say, nope, too expensive. We can't do it. We can't do it. So what I got was I've got a quote to get them much cheaper than what we had originally thought. And then I found a grant application. So I worked with the state and we ended up getting those electronic poll books at no cost, which was phenomenal. And that is what finally has allowed us to get to this point where we can implement the vote centers.
Yeah, I wondered about that because, I watched other counties getting theirs and was very envious and wondered why we couldn't. So thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions?
Good evening, Connie. Thank you for having this meeting. It is a good opportunity to be able to find out a little bit more about this stuff. I have a number of questions, and I'm sure I can easily go beyond the scope of this meeting, so I'll try to rein it in. I'll pose this question, and if it becomes too complex, and we'll move on to something else. Okay, so I guess my initial question is, what was the real pressing need, as you saw it, for this type of electronic poll book?
Okay, so traditionally, and again, I came from voter registration. I used to work very, very late to print those giant poll books that were at every single polling location. But here's what happened with those. We would print those on Friday because they were being picked up on Saturday. But maybe I've already printed MC13 and you live in MC13 and then you come in and you take advantage of early voting. That paper poll book does not reflect that. So then what happens when you come in to vote on election day? You vote. And then what would happen, it would take us weeks to scan them. So by the time we would find that, oh my goodness, this person voted twice, that little things like that, it would be too late. The election's already certified. In 2020, I believe it was 2020, I complained and I complained and I complained and I said, this has to stop. I think maybe that was, 2018, but that's part of it. So now with our electronic poll books, as soon as you check in, it's everywhere. You cannot go and check in at any other location.
Just out of curiosity, what percentage of problems of that nature that you described were we having?
It was low.
Prior to that?
It was
Okay.
very low.
Okay. The other question that I think connected to that electronic polling, I've been told, and you can clarify this for me if that's not correct, that there is no cast vote record available through this system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I've also heard that there are other systems that do provide that information.
I don't know those systems.
Okay.
I know of our system, and that was something that, because I did get to select which poll pads we were going with, which company we were going with, everything, and I really wanted the most voter friendly. I wanted something that didn't have tons of your information. We don't need that. They don't need to know your entire vote history. They need to check you in so that you can vote right now.
Okay, so that, then my final, and maybe you can kind of qualify that a little bit further. My final question is, why did you select that no ink as the specific company? What were the determining factors for you?
Their reputation is fantastic. They are there anytime that I need them. Their poll pads, poll books. You'll hear me use both terms. It's the same thing. But theirs were just easy to use, easy to understand. The system that comes with it is very easy for me to work on my end. And mind you, when on election day, early voting time, anytime, we have a system that I can see from my desk. I can tell if somebody's hotspot is turned off. I can tell if they're connected if the poll pads are connected, if they're not connected, if their printer isn't working. I mean, I can tell you what percentage of charge they have left on them. So it's really fantastic. And again, it was the information being put out on voters.
Are you familiar with, and I'm asking legitimately because I don't know the specific details, the cast vote record? I've heard a lot of different information about it. I've heard that it was made law that we were supposed to have one in Indiana, and obviously we have not had one consistently. Do you have any information regarding that? So
my understanding is your cast vote record is simply your vote history, and we do have that. It's just not on the electronic poll books.
One of the pieces of information I read regarding that is that that's something that could be accessed by the public, because it didn't contain specific information regarding, individuals, how they voted or anything like this. It was just, there was that concrete record of votes cast, and an individual to tie to that, that could be confirmed by an individual who was interested to know for sure. For instance, is this election secure, and so on and so forth.
So I guess the cast vote record always kind of throws me off. Are you asking if you could call in and get a vote history to know what ballots I pulled? Because you could.
Okay. All right. There's a limited amount of information that I had regarding that. I'm just working off of what I had read.
I'm in the same boat.
Okay. So, and I'm trying to clarify that it was ostensibly codified as law, and yet we don't have it. So in some areas we do of the state. So I wasn't sure the whys and wherefores on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be happy to look into it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions, concerns, comments, curiosity, just anything? Okay. There he comes.
Good evening, Heather. Dakota Euler. I just wanted to thank you for your time and efforts over the past. I've been involved for 10 plus years in these elections, and it's been something that I know that's been on your thought and working towards in the last 6 years. So I was happy for you last night. I'm happy to wake up today and know that LaPorte County is moving forward with that. And I know it's under your leadership that that's possible. I would just like to read what I had prepared. I previously spoke at the commissioners meeting, and this voting centers, it represents a consolidation of polling locations and getting polling locations out of Michigan City schools. Polling, it has no business being where the students are. Voting centers aren't a new idea. It's already in use in 60 of the 92 counties in Indiana. And it supports the efforts of making voting easier and more efficient without disenfranchising voters. If you're heading to work and you work in Hannah, you can hit a polling location out on your way out there. If you have a civic engagement in LaPorte and you have to go do that, you can do that. You got kids that you have to take to daycare, any location. It really just allows people to vote whatever is convenient for them. And having these public sessions, you said you're required to have two. It shows your dedication to the voters and making sure that people are aware of what we have laying ahead of us. So a couple questions for you. What is the biggest challenge that we have with these voting centers moving forward?
The biggest challenge right now is going to be getting the equipment delivered and picked up timely. So that is something that the election board is going to have to figure out. We'll put together a plan and we'll execute it. That's what we're here for.
And what would you feel is the greatest benefit from having these voting centers?
I think not turning a voter away because they're at the wrong location.
As a poll worker, I would have to agree with that. There's many times where, it's, 5 minutes till, and someone shows up and says, you take your driver's license, scan it on the poll pad, and it says you're supposed to be somewhere else. And as convenient as it is that you can send a text message or a map and say, hey, this is where you're supposed to vote, those days are over. You can vote here. Here you go. Here's your ballot, and let's continue. Will poll worker training be simplified, you believe? I would imagine so, just because there's a less number of workers needed.
I think I'm gonna make it totally different this year. For the fall. I think what we're going to do, because this is a big change for our poll workers, I think we're going to have stations. We're going to focus, at one station, we're going to have those inspectors focused on the paperwork because that seems to be an issue. Our judges are going to have to really pay attention when they're pulling up that voter's ballot, because every ballot is going to be on every machine. So they're going to have to pay attention. So little things, but I think we'll get it done.
And personally, I think that one of the things I'm most excited for, working in my own polling location, I always enjoyed working with those close-knit people, seeing the neighbors, and, I haven't seen you, how's the family doing? I think having these voting centers bring, maybe those community members that you don't get to see but at those social events across the county, and I just look forward to what this brings for the community, and thank you for all of your efforts.
Thank you, Dakota. So I will say that one of the things I'm most excited for is actually the poll workers. Because before, if you forgot to go and vote early and you weren't working at your precinct, you couldn't leave to go vote. And we've had a lot of poll workers in the past who didn't vote on election day because they couldn't leave their polling location that they were working at. So now they're just going to be able to go vote, nice and easy. So, any other questions, anything like that, or would you like me to go through the vote center plan and get you out of here? Okay. So in this plan, and there are going to be things that I have to redo. I'm gonna do a table of contents. But I really wanted to wait until everything was said and done, because I'm gonna put minutes from each of these meetings into this, so that people could see those questions, see those answers. We have letters of support from both the Democrat and Republican Party chairs, which I think is incredible. And then the resolutions from the signed resolutions from the county election board, the county council, and the county commissioners. So all of that still has to go in here. It has a letter that was published in a couple of newspapers, and it'll be published again. So that is in the plan. The plan can also be found on the LaPorte County website. If you go to laporteco.in.gov and you go to the elections tab, you can find the vote center plan there. So once we redo the plan and make it all pretty to send downstate, then we'll make sure a new edition of that gets put up. This really has a little bit of everything in it. It does talk about, what poll books we use. It talks about how we're going to work with our media, and I've got to tell you, Drew has been amazing, Kevin's been amazing. I think the last 2 weeks I've been on every local radio station. I've sent things out to our newspapers. But whatever we can do, social media, just trying to reach everyone. We also have, I'll start with, because some people watching later on may not quite understand what this means. And what this means is that you are no longer going to be required to vote within your precinct. Any registered voter of LaPorte County can vote at any vote center. So while we're required by the state to have we're required to have 8 vote centers in the entire county, we're actually going to have 38. 8 of those will be within city limits of Michigan City, and I think 5 or 6 within the city of LaPorte, and everything else is just kind of scattered throughout the county. The one thing that we did in Michigan City was we got the voting out of the schools, as Dakota had mentioned. This does not change early voting. We will still have early voting. For municipal elections, we're going to have it in LaPorte, Michigan City. We'll take the mobile unit out to Kingsford Heights, any place that has elections in municipal years. This plan also states that during a municipal election, we will not use every polling location in the county. We will only use those within the municipalities that have elections that year. So if Long Beach has no election, the Long Beach polling location would not be open. So, and I know Drew and a couple of others, we all sat down the other day and we thought, well, is that going to confuse people? And I hope not, but that the best I can do is go put up a sign that says, hey, this vote center's not open today. We still have absentee by mail if people qualify for that. We still have our travel board for the people who are homebound. We have the vote centers on election day. We also have a mobile voting unit. So we did notice that this, right, and Drew gave me this handy dandy little thing that I can, wait, maybe. I don't think it reaches.
There we go.
Thank you. So these are the vote centers for Michigan City. And what we noticed immediately by getting out of the schools, we don't have anything right in the middle of Michigan City. So if we don't find something, and we're still looking, we're not going to stop. But if we don't find something, we have a mobile voting unit. And as far as I know, there's only one other county in the state that has one of these. So how lucky are we? So we can take that to those areas that we think need a little extra coverage. The plan does list every single vote center within LaPorte County. I won't bore you by reading every one of them, but you guys can always pick up a copy of this at the clerk's office too. So those are available. Electronic poll book, description and security details. The hardware, software, and firmware used for the electronic poll books, LaPorte County does utilize the No Ink poll pad. These will only be accessible when a member of each party enters their undisclosed password. We need to work on that. Dakota, he's well aware. But basically what we're doing, so by going to vote centers, we're going to greatly reduce the number of poll workers that we need on election day. We used to have 92 teams of 5. And that's a lot of poll workers. We're going to go down to about 38 teams of 5. So that's a big savings. However, that is 1 inspector, 1 Republican judge, 1 Democrat judge, 1 Republican clerk, 1 Democrat clerk. And we thought, well, why do we have 2 clerks and 1 poll book? That, what's the other clerk supposed to do? And I've since learned what the other clerk is supposed to do. The 2 of them should be sitting there together. They should be checking each other, making sure that everything is going properly. That way, if there's any dispute, they need to call the inspector over and settle it. Now we've also discussed I understand that 2024 is going to be a huge election, and I think that we're going to have some vote centers that we're going to need extra machines and extra workers at. So we're going to handle that. And it's in here. If we need additional staff, we can add it. That's fine. But we will keep that balance of parties at every vote center. I think that that's important. We put an emergency response plan together, and that just means, God forbid, something horrible should happen on election day. We're going to work with our sheriff's department. We're going to work with our emergency services. We're going to work with our commissioners, our Secretary of State's office, Indiana State Police, whoever is needed. So that is also part of the plan. Aside from that, we also have Microvote, who they handle our machines, and we do have Microvote support actually on site on election day. We actually have a rep from Microvote who sits at the courthouse with us all day, and he does that just in case there's an issue with a machine. If we need other machines programmed and sent out, he'll assist us with that, things like that. Usually it's that VVPAT, and if you don't know what that is, that's that little paper trail box. Those things, they need work. But if you have one of those VVPATs attached to a machine, which we are required to have one attached to every machine by the 2024 general election, if something happens, if that paper jams in that VVPAT, the machine won't work without it. So that's not a lot of fun, and that's why we have Microvote nice and close so we can send them out. Then we have the maps, and the ones that I have are black and white, and they just look like they're spotted because I don't have a color printer in the office. We also have what is called a county precinct key within the vote center plan, and that just tells us just every precinct that we have, and then it has their congressional district, Senate district, and this is what I use when I check to make sure that our ballots are correct before we start voting. Any other questions? Are you guys excited about this? Anybody have concerns about this? Good, good. The one thing that I have stated at every single meeting that I've done, and it really doesn't seem to matter if it's in person or on the radio or anything else, I hear so much about our voting machines. And they're secretly connected to the internet. And I want to be very clear that our voting machines are not connected to the internet. They are not. But ours are so old, they're not capable. So I would really like to just put that to bed. It's just not true. I'm excited about this plan. I think that this is going to be great for LaPorte County. I think we're too big to insist that people vote at a specific location. So I'm sorry it's taken 10 years to get this done, but I'm really excited. I'm excited that it's over. I had to, after the commissioners voted last night, I had to step out and go do a little dance in the hallway. So with that being said, the time is 6:30. And if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm gonna get you out of here. You're good? All right, public meeting is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.